Hi everyone. It's your boy Oluyomi Olushola Michael, and today we'll be talking about product management stakeholders, who are the people you will be having conversations with, who are the people that you would get to meet day to day, and what is your relationship with them? What would it be like? What would their role be in the whole life cycle of the product. Yeah. So, the first group of people that you should be aware of are the engineers. The software engineers are the backbone most times of the product. There is no product, especially software product, if there's nobody to build it. So even if you have an idea, your designer has brought the idea to life, you still need engineers. You need people to convert those designs to app that people could use. You also need engineers like QA, quality assurance engineers, to actually vet it to be sure that you are not pushing out a product that customers would not like. Yes, the product might promise to solve their problems, but if your customers are experiencing more bugs than solution, then you have a very big problem with them. So yeah, your engineering team is actually very important. These are people that you hear being called software engineer, front end developers, back end developers, DevOps. These are just your engineers that ensure that your ideas that have been designed or prototyped, or your user stories and acceptance criteria, which you will learn in other videos, is actually well written. When you've written it and you've added all the big requirements, they're actually able to help you look through it. And yet, it's very important to have good relationship with engineers. When I became a products manager, one of the things that I noticed in the space is the fact that um, a lot of people were having toxic relationship with their engineers. So you hear a lot of engineers on Twitter that year coming out to say managers, terrible people. I think that has reduced a bit. But in those years, engineers really, really don't like managers. They feel like managers, they micromanage them, a lot of things. So the engineers are people that you want to have a very good relationship with, because there are times that you will need them outside their working hours. And I don't mean this as something you do every time, but there are times that um, you can't help it. For example, there was a time I was working on a fintech app. We had business to business clients. That means clients that were business owners as well, who have customers using their product. And at I think around 9 p.m. in the night, thereabout, the server just went off. And for some reason, for obvious reasons, the transactions were failing. The app wasn't accessible. People were sending money to these accounts. They were unable to confirm it. A lot of things was actually going wrong. In scenarios like that, it might be very hard for you to wait till the next morning. And if you have a kind of relationship with your engineer that when you call them, they are not picking your call because they will tell you it's outside work hour. I don't pick calls once it's after outside work hours. But you're able to reach out to them. You are able to discuss with them, how can I reach you? How can I, because your engineers are indeed your backbones, but at the same time, um, they also determine on a long way. I've had stories where engineers literally crashed company because of the culture and all of that, where engineers went to destroy codes. A lot of things. So you have to ensure that the people that you're working with have a good relationship with you. They have enough relationship with you as their manager to talk to you when the HR is not around. Even if you're working with a company that doesn't have an HR, your responsibility is to be that to them. So your engineers are often, and if you're lucky and you work with guys that are that have very little work-life balance, it's also your role to ensure that they're actually having or balancing some other areas of your life. I know that this is probably not something you hear a lot, but as a manager, your engineers are better with a good mental health than a bad mental health. So you should be concerned about their well-being as well. Ask them. Sometimes when we have meetings, when we are done with what we want to do, I stay back to ask them, "How are you doing? Your voice sounds different." I mean, these are things that you should understand. Stakeholders management is not just managing expectations on product timelines, on deadlines, escalations, SLAs, or operational level agreements. No, 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 that's not just what management of stakeholder means. Management of stakeholders also means being concerned about what happens outside work. How can we help to ensure that when you come to work, you are in a safe space, you are mentally ready to work. That's not about engineers. The same thing applicable to designers. Designers are usually the best friends of product managers because they work almost together. So, but you want to create a culture where your designers and engineers are also in tune, where the engineers and designers can have conversations around, oh, I'm having this design. This is design I'm working on. Oh, this might not be the optimal approach considering probably the framework we're using or the infrastructure we're using. I think we should do it this way. A lot of times we have back and forth. Startups have serious back and forth because they leave out the engineering team when they were ideating the product. So they ideated the product, worked on the design, did everything and perfected it, got approval, then brought in engineers to come and build. And when they brought in the engineers were they were at a point where they had to tell them that this thing that you're talking about cannot work. Why? Because the infrastructure we have doesn't allow us to do that. If we would do this, it will be more expensive. If we would do this, it will be less expensive. There are certain guidelines that naturally designers might not see, but when you think about the cost of probably managing, I don't want to be as very technical, but there are some things that a Redis implementation could actually solve as opposed to making calls to the API every time. And the design that you have might actually determine how this implementation will go. So having your stakeholders together is actually very, very or potentially important to you. And if you're lucky to be in a company with multiple products managers, obviously you would speak with products managers as well. You have a company that has multiple products. I used to work with a company where we had microservices. I was managing one, and I had product managers managing others. Then we communicate via events. So even though I'm building my product in my with my team. There is another product manager building our product with our team. There's another product manager building his product with his team. And we communicate together via events. They request data from us, request data from them. We send wherever it's necessary. And at the end of the day, the customer is not seeing three different products, but seeing a single product. At the end of the day, if you are working in a company like that, you also need to have good communication with them. You have to have a good relationship with these managers so that at the end of the day, when there's a need, you are able to work well with them. For people that I've worked with in the past, I always have this relationship outside of work. And one of the first things I do when I start working with you is ensure that I have your WhatsApp number. I love to check your status. It gives me a clue to be able to comment. I don't necessarily have to come to your DM every time. Good morning. I just want to check on you. But I see you post something about something. I want to drop my opinion. And after dropping my opinion, and we have a few back and forths, and I'm asking you, so how are you? It helped me understand who I am working with. So I think you could consider that strategy as well, so that at least you're not overwhelmed with checking up on everybody. I mean, there are certain things you could do. Most of the people I've worked with, I have them on Instagram, I have them on Twitter, I have them on WhatsApp, and I mean, I post a lot. Sometimes you look at my style and say, this guy doesn't have work. But it's also to ensure that they also are able to get a platform to actually connect with me on a level outside work. Do you understand? So we want to have such relationship with products managers to working with. Other stakeholders include investors. If you are lucky to be in a small startups where investors have meetings with stakeholders, you might want to meet with them. Sometimes your CEO might give you a huge responsibility of explaining stuff to investors. Sometimes investors will come and say, yeah, shut down this product, shut down this feature, shut down this. And you as a product manager, you're looking at data and saying, no, we shouldn't shut it down. This is our power source. Yes, it's expensive to manage, but it's the reason why people are using this, and that. If we drop it down, this might not work. You'll be able to have that conversation about the product. Understand that as a product manager, you are first the owner of the product and then managing the product. So you have to understand that you might have a chance to actually speak with investors, convince them to make certain decisions, and also at the long run, you have executive, your CEOs, your business team, operations teams. Basically, see it might be C level, it might be middle level management, it might be any depending. Just people that you answer to. A lot of times there are biases. I'm hoping that I'll be able to discuss that in another video. Biases as product manager, where your CEO is saying, "Hey, do this feature," and you're saying data is saying that we should not do this feature. Your CEO is saying no. My friend that is doing that feature is saying that it's good. And you're like, no, 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 it doesn't work that way. So at the end of the day, you have to be able to manage those biases, especially with executive. These are people that you work with on a daily basis. Also, you have your customers, which is the biggest of all your stakeholders. In fact, before you consider anything about other stakeholders, you need to consider your customers. They are the brain behind what you do. They are the reason why you exist. So it is very, very important that you meet their needs and speak with them as often as possible, because their experience is their good experience is good luck for you as a product manager. The more happy your customers are, the better the product becomes. The more customers they bring, the more service delivery that you do as a product manager. So yeah, these are just few of the stakeholders you work with. There are a lot of them. There are a lot more stakeholders like the operations that I mentioned. There's the operations team. In some companies, you have customer support. In some companies, the operations team also handles support. You have the quality assurance team. You have the compliance team. You have the a lot of things basically. So depending on the companies you're working with, you might end up working with all of them. In fact, as a product manager, your compliance should be your core. You should always speak with the compliance team. In your company, you could be a lawyer. You should always have like a every time you have a feature on the roadmap, you should have a meeting with them to tell them, okay, this is what we want to build. What is the implication on data privacy and all other things, especially for industries where there are certain guidelines and standards. So it's actually very, very important. And these are just a few of the stakeholders. In the next video, I'll be teaching you about specialization in products manager management. Sorry, what are the roles that you can fit in the product management space? I really hope to see you in the next video. Thank you and have a lovely time.